Welcome everyone. Today we have a special tier 3 homing guide video. As you can see behind me, I'm currently homing for my tier 3 weapon to plus 14, and it's a success on the first go as well. So in this video, what I'll do is I'll show you a lot of replays of method of homing and what are the new method that can almost halve your homing cost and have some pretty decent rate of success. You will see that I will still fail, but knowing that I fail, I'm also saving a lot of gold. Now, one of the biggest highlights of this video is I want to show you the new features of the new dynamic Excel. So not only do we have the adjustment of arm and tier in a new format and also new interface, we also have the target level of the item you are upgrading, and also each time you fail, the rate will not dynamically adjust. Because as you guys know, the Artisan's energy will give us bonus rate. I have made tables that dynamically adjust depending on the target level of your gear. If you're going for plus 11, this will dynamically adjust off your base rate. So each time you fail, you get 10% higher base rate. And the Excel will now reflect that. It took us a lot of work, a lot of calculations, but it finally works. So this is also amazing in saving you more gold as well, which I'll explain with a step-by-step process in this video. It still uses the same rates, and we also have updated rates for level 15 now for the weapons and also for armor for tier 3. And also I have updated a lot of notes over here. We'll go through the newly updated notes, which I have actually written a lot, which will be my step-to-step method to get items to plus 14 at tier 3, and also what I plan to do to get items to plus 15. And this method, by my estimations, could save you almost half of your homing costs if you do this correctly. So I want to explain the options to you guys, how you want to get to 1340, what to do after that, and what to do for plus 12 to plus 14, and what I want to do from plus 14 to plus 15. Now there is also a bonus feature I have added, which calculates the Artisan's bonus rate ups, because we know each time we fail, we get a bonus 10% base rate, right? So over here, I have added more tables to show us how many tries do we need to have a high rate of success for at a base rate. And over here we have the number of red destruction stones and blue guardian stones we need to save up for those attempts. So I made the quick table for us as a calculation. Let's say if your base rate is 15%, the table will change automatically. So this is very nice, and I want to show you guys this, and this is a new feature added to the Excel as well. Now, because there's a lot of new things that are added to this video, to a previous homing video, so what I want to do is, I first want to start by showing you guys the new rates of the discovery of plus 15 for the tier 3 weapons and also armors. This is a new discovery I want to talk to you guys about, and after we'll go through how to use the new Excel, which is much more updated and much more visualizing. And after that, I'll go through the videos of me homing and also what is my method step by step to show you guys how to home gears. And yes, we'll still fail, but knowing that we fail, we still save a lot of homing resource this way. Notice I'm not using rate ups for certain type of armor and gear at certain levels, and I want to explain this to you guys in more details. Now, this particular document has been updated recently again by me, and basically this has been ongoing updating, and this includes the tier 1, tier 2, and also tier 3 homing. We haven't had much of the changes for tier 1 and tier 2 for now, so I haven't updated much of that. But if you haven't seen this, definitely check it out for those as well. So what is a newly discovery is over here. I'll show you guys. I actually went a little further. Our newest discovery is that to get items from plus 14 to plus 15, the rate will drop even further. Now, if you guys are not aware, once you get items to plus 9, to get to plus 10, the bonus rate of your solar grace, solar blessing, solar protection will drop. And this will drop even further once you get to plus 12 and plus. And what I noticed is, I finally got, after getting my weapon to plus 14, what you want to notice is the bonus rate of those items will drop even further. The solar grace started with 1.25%, it is dropped to 0.14%. The 7.5% solar protection would drop to 0.83%. So, so the question is, what does this mean for us? This means for us to get items to plus 15, the bonus rate, the maximum bonus rate we can enjoy is now 20%. So basically you can see here, my base rate is 10%, the bonus rate by spending all the rate up materials which cost thousands of gold is only 10. And this is quite big of a change. So what I did was I have updated this particular Excel to reflect the values on the plus 15 for those items. So you can see those over here. And basically, as a small comparison, the changes of those rates will increase the cost by about 10% to update for plus 15. And if you look at a previous Excel, you can see the difference. So basically you can see the cost over here expected is 61,000 and here the cost expected is 65,000. Don't be scared by those values because later we'll also have a look at Artisan's rate and Artisan's energy, and I have added new things over here to have a look. Now, in case you guys are not sure how to input values into Excel, make sure you come over to Files and also make a copy. Once you made a copy, you can now adjust the values of the Excels over here. And if you're using the latest updated UI Excel from a lovely viewer, TrunkyMonkey over here, I haven't done much work of the tiers, but you can change the armor, you can change the weapon accordingly, and this will reflect. You can also change the level of the gear you're inputting. Basically, you're aiming for 11 to 12, you can change that. The values here will reflect. And over here, you can see the base rates of all the values over here. This is from the data from the game. And what you want to do is you want to input the market value of the cost of those items on your server. Now, because each server will be different, the Excel will give you a different output. And what you want to do is the Excel will recommend you how to use those values and what is the cheapest way to do it. Now, of course, I have talked about how to use Excel before, so the previous Excel is over here. I have talked about how to use those as well. So if you guys are not sure, definitely check out the previous video of how I explain how to use Excel. And I think most of you know how to use Excel. Now over here, our lovely viewer TrunkyMonkey and me, we also decided to add more features to the Excel. So over here, I want to spend some time to just show you guys the new features. So don't worry too much about tier 2 because tier 2 values are not very important. Oh, I guess they're not very detailed as I was calculating them. So focus on the tier 3. Now you can pick between weapons and also armor, and the value here will reflect. The first part over here is when you buy lip stones, when you buy honor stones and shards, and also you buy the destruction stones and also the guardian stones. The second comparison over here is only when you buy your destruction stones and or guardian stones, so between the weapon and also the gear. What we also added is the target level. So depending on your target level for your gears, if you're aiming to get item to level 10 plus, this is the value of comparison. And what we also added is gonna be a dynamic rate changing, because as we know guys, each time we upgrade an item, there is a bonus rate after you fail. So after you fail once, it's your second attempt. The cost of those upgrading, because the rate will change. So what I mean by that is, notice that our target level is level 10. The rate of your success will go from 30% to 33%. We have added this into the Excel as well. For more calculations, more savings and more details. Let's say if you fail 5 times in a row on your upgrade, the cost will be much cheaper compared to when you fail the first time, because the rate will slowly get higher. This is actually more accurate and more detailed work, and it actually took us a few hours to get this right. So notice with higher level of attempts, your rates increase and also your cost of upgrading will decrease. And this will definitely help as we look into my method of upgrading, which I will not be using the rate of materials. And this really benefit basically as you attempt more times, as you fail more, your rate of success will increase. And of course guys, everything you want to select is over here. So input the cost of your mats on your server, and also you can select from the tier, from the weapons, from the target level. If you're going for item from 13 to 14, you select 14. And finally, how many attempts have you tried? If you failed once, it's your second attempt. If you failed twice, that's your third attempt. And this will show you the values. And over here, I'll give you guys a live example. So over here, I'll be attempting my helmet from 11 to 12. And very soon you'll know my reasons why I don't use rate ups. So on my first attempt, if we come over to Excel, what you're going to see is I'm going to go select tier 3. I'm going to select armor. I'm going to select to 12 because I'll be attempting for level 12. And after that, I will select this is my first attempt. And those are the cost of materials currently in my server. So what this shows me is, this shows me if I'm supplying my own honor stones, I'm supplying my own honor shards. So I'm having my honor stones over here, as you can see. And also I have enough leap stones over here that I don't have to buy any. What I'm not supplying is, I guess, I'm using my tradable guardian stones. That's what I'm using. So by selecting those, the values I'll be comparing is going to be the values over here. It is telling me it is much cheaper for me to not use rate up materials. Because if I were to if I use rate up materials like the grace, like the blessing and also protection, it is much more costly. And in that sense, it is recommended I only use my own materials. And I'll follow the guide over here and I'll show you guys upgrade. We'll do this live as well. So I'll expect to fail a few times, but that's okay as well. Now, each time I fail, what you're going to notice that now I went from 15% to 16.5%. And if I click over here for the second attempt, you will tell me the cost will get lower. And this is dynamically adjusted as you attempt it. I hope I don't fail too many times, so to be honest. I'm expected to fail a few times, and I want to show you in the next future as well. So I'll try 3 times, and I'll show you guys the next future as well. I failed 3 times in a row, so that's not good, right? So basically, let's come over here. I failed 3 times, so this will be my fourth attempt. What I also want to show you guys is another data table that I added to the second cell. I know it's a little messy if you come to the second cell. The updated Excel, you just have to adjust values over here, and everything will be adjusted. The second cell I have updated is going to be the Artisan's bonus rate. Notice that this is showing me that each time I fail, I get bonus rate. And it shows me that if I attempt my enhancement about 6 times, I may expect to succeed 70%. So after 6 times, I have a 70% together with the 6 times to succeed 70%. So if I were to attempt 10 times, my success rate is about 90%. It also shows me at the current cost, these blue stones, this will cost me about, so basically this would tell me at the current cost of the blue stones, if I have attempted 3 times, right, and I failed 3 times, this has cost me about 4,000 gold in terms of my blue stones. So it's a little more details if you guys want more details, but the value over here also helps. Let's just finish this for the sake of the calculation. I hope I don't fail too many times. I'm expecting about 50% chance. Oh, this is the 4th fails. So this is why I want to show you guys live that using this method, you do have the chance of failing. But how many attempts is that? This is the 5th attempt I succeeded. So after 5 tries, I have succeeded. You will say, hey, don't you use a lot of guardian stones? Yes, I do. But what I save on will be the materials over here. I have saved on those materials that I can use later for the enhancement of the weapon, which I'll explain now with the detailed method of how to get everything to +14 and +15. What we really want to focus on is the 2 features I added to the Excel. I guess 1 feature and also 1 detail notes. Now again guys, because we have made multiple videos on homing, so I'm basically skimming through the parts we have covered on. And if you haven't seen those parts, definitely come over to our previous video links over here about this pretty much Word document and also the homing guide, because there's a lot I have covered previously and I don't want to go over it with every video, right? So definitely check out those 2 videos before. Now the latest method and discovery for myself that really worked, as you saw in the replay, is how to get gears to at least +14. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with going from 1325 to 1340. I think most of us who gets to tier 3 eventually, you will get to 1325 very quickly because the success rate for that is 100%. You just need materials. After that, our next goal is to get a gear level to 1340, and this will open the weekly abyss for the next dungeon and also give us the higher grade of the guardian raid. Guardian raid, not raid. So basically, this will open up more content to play at tier 3, and it's quite important to get to 1340 as quickly as you can if possible. You don't have to rush it all the time, but it opens up quite a bit of resource as well. Now, all the calculations here, currently I'm using my server's data. Make sure you also check with your server. But I do think the first method is very similar for everyone. So basically, what we're trying to do is, we try to get a gears to +9 for the 1340. Now, there is 2 options we can do this. And what I mean by this is, you can see my weapon is +9, and when I go for +10, I'm using all the materials that can give a bonus rate. So you can see I'm using all the materials that gives a bonus rate. There will be chances that you fail, but the chances of you succeeding is much greater. So let's come back. So let's come back to notes. The first options I recommend if you really want to push for 1340 is that you do the bonus rate for your weapon from 7 to 9. And then you consider if you have any spare materials, you can use the bonus rate from 8 to 9 for the armors, or maybe it's even 7 to 9 if you really want to go fast. And you don't want to risk the rate. I do believe the rate is 60%, 45%, and 30%. Those are the 3 intervals. What I'm thinking is, what I recommend is, definitely if you want to go a little quicker, consider using the rate ups from 8 to 9, at least for the 30%. And where I'm getting the rates from is from our table over here. You can see from 8 to 9, it is 30% for both armor and also weapon. So this is a faster method. Just to summarize, you can use all the rate ups for weapon from 7 to 9. You can consider using the rate ups for armor from 7 or 8 to 9, and this will speed you up to 1340. But if you're not in a rush like me, what I did was, I only used rate ups for 8 to 9 for weapons only. And for the armor, I didn't use any rate ups. So this actually gave me many fails, and I actually had the 100% success because I failed so many times with Artisan's energy, which we'll talk about very soon. So I didn't want to rush it because I wanted to save up my rate up materials. And as you can see in the video, I actually saved up a lot of rate up materials. Now I did trade about 1,400 solar grades, so those are the tradable ones I later sold. But the other ones I have bought a bit just to trade, and also I've saved up quite a bit of untradeable ones, which I'll tell you guys how to get those as well. Now the slower option to get to 1340 is definitely what I did, so maybe from 7 or 8 you consider using the rate up materials for the weapons, but don't use any rate up for the armor. This will be a little slower, might take you 1 to 2 days longer, but this will save you more materials once you aim for plus 12 and going further. Now what is quite interesting is, once you aim to get a particular piece of gear from 9 to 12, the rates will go down. The bonus rate from the homing materials will go down by 33%, so they are less effective. And also there is no longer a rush to go to 1355. I have gotten to that right now, but this just opens one higher level of the chaos dungeon, and the loot is not very different. So what I recommend, and what I did as you can see here with my rate ups, is I actually used all the rate up materials for my weapons upgrade. So let me show you guys over here. I used all the rate up materials if I can for my weapons upgrade. The reason I only did 2 over here because I was being a little cheap. I know 3 of those are tradable, I know 2 of those are not tradable, so I used the 2 that's not tradable. But fortunately enough, from 13 to 14, I actually succeeded on 27%. But that one was lucky. I have gotten ones that are not so lucky as well. I'll show you guys very soon. So my method of going from 1340 to 1355 is that for the weapons, I will use all the rate up materials if I can, if we can afford it. And for the armor, I actually don't use any rate up materials. Now there is a very important logic is behind this, and I want to use Excel to show you guys. Now in order to show you guys the logic behind this, let's come over to the old Excel. I didn't use the new Excel because the new Excel, the UI is nice, but our friend actually didn't update it for the weapon and armor comparison. Over here you can see both the weapon and also armor comparison over here. So to get an item to plus 10 on the level, if you don't use any rate up materials, it will cost us around, let me zoom in a little bit first, it will cost us around, let's go 75%. So it will cost us around 10,000 gold expected to go for this level. You will consider your rates of failing, rates of success. But notice the cost of using the rate up materials is also not much higher than not using them. The difference between the armor and also the gear is the crystals on my server for the blue shard actually sells much cheaper. And what that means is it is much more safer, and what this means is it is much more cheaper for me to not use any rate ups for the armor upgrade for any of the levels. So for any of the levels, it is so much cheaper than using any of the rate ups. And this is what I mean by you can save almost half of your homing materials. So it is not much difference for the weapon upgrade. And this is one of the reasons I'm using all the rate ups for the weapon. Because even if I use all the rate ups, the cost won't be that different. But for the armor, the cost will be massively different. I will be wasting so much gold if I just spend on buying my, blue shard for 58 gold instead of, buying the other rate up materials, which is actually more costly. So if you're thinking of buying for materials for homing, it is actually cheaper according to Excel and also my market rate. So coming back to our notes. So what I mean by that is the cost of using weapons with rate up and without rate up is very close, and because the cost is close, we'll prefer having a higher success rate. We'll take that, we'll take the higher success rate, we'll use most of our tradable, untradable mats for the weapon rate up, whether it's plus 9 to plus 10 or plus 10 to plus 11 or 12. We'll do that for the weapons. And just as a quick summary of where I get all of my untradable materials, we had a video on the Excel guide of using the Mari secret shop. You exchange gold for currency and basically gold for gems, and you buy from the Mari secret shop. Definitely check out that previous video. I'll have the link for you guys. Also, if you farm the tier 3 dungeons with the special 3-minute run method, we also have a video guide over here. I'll link it for you guys. This actually gives quite a bit of untradable materials, which are the red shard and also the blue stones and also the leap stones, which is very nice from the 3-minute runs for the chaos dungeon. Now as for the armor, the comparison we had over here, so basically I use the comparison for the 10 over here. Notice the cost of armor, if you don't use rate up, it's much cheaper compared to using rate ups. So knowing that it is much cheaper, the comparison, basically what I'm doing is I'll decide to not use any rate up for my armor for any stage. I'll use all the rate ups I have for the weapon only. And of course, doing this method, you will expect many fails on your armor, but your weapon will succeed with much higher chance, and this will save more gold. So the armor percentage you're looking at after, so basically we're looking at the rates over here. I know it's jumping everywhere, apologies for that. So basically we're looking at, 30%, 30%, and 15%. Those are the rates we're currently looking at. The armor will start with 30% success rate, and as you get to 11 to 12, it'll be 15%. But the weapon will enjoy 60% and 30%. And coming back to my rate plays, this is one of the reasons you can see that I have been using all the rate ups for my weapons, and for the armors, I don't use any rate ups. And yes, you will fail, trust me. You will fail a few times, you get lucky a few times, but there have been many fails. Just let me show you this quick replay of me trying to upgrade. And because I'm doing 15% rate and no rate ups, it is actually much cheaper even if I fail a few times, because the success I get is giving me much more saving, and the success I get from the weapon is so much more saving, right? So this is because we have limited resource and we want to get the cheapest method. I just want to show you guys this. You will fail, and you will fail multiple times with armor. But eventually the rate will go through. You will get lucky and eventually you get through that. And by expected values, even after multiple fails for certain piece of gear, notice I'm not using any rate ups for the gears, you will succeed. And when you succeed, the method here is going to save you more gold. Now hopefully I didn't make it too confusing for you guys. So basically what I did was, basically for weapons, just use all the rate up materials you can afford. Try to start to use the untradeable ones first. And basically our previous videos will show you guys of how to get those as well. And also for the armors, don't use any rate ups. Just YOLO it, just go with the 15%, just go with the 30%. It is actually cheaper by my server rate. It is actually much cheaper to not use any rate ups currently. But if your server rate changes, if the blue chart changes to 90, will be different. So make sure you use Excel and calculate this way. And you know my logic behind why I'm doing this. Now finally, for plus 12 to plus 14, we will be using the same method, because I have checked over here the rates of those items. Let's say we're going for 13. Notice for the weapons, there is a still difference. It is cheaper to not use rate ups for weapons too, but the saving is not that great. The saving over here is about 7,000 gold. But for the armor, each time you don't use rate up, the saving is almost doubled or tripled. Notice if I spend about 7,600 gold for plus 13 expected rate up for armor. But if I use any rate ups, the cost is actually much higher, because the current market price, those are very expensive for me. So similar to the previous idea, we'll be going with all the rate ups for weapon from 12 to 14. And for the armors, we won't use any rate ups. And this is why at the start of the video, you can see me using most of my rate ups for the weapon. I got a little greedy here, I should have used 4, right? But only used 3. So the higher success rate you enjoy on the weapon is the biggest saving. And this will also be offsetting by the fails for your armors, but you will succeed with your armors too eventually. And because the rate of those items, the cost of those items on the market is much cheaper, you can afford the fails on the armors. Now by no means guys, you have to expect a lot of fails with armors, because the saving comes when you get the armors to go in and when you get the armor successfully without rate ups. But you will fail a lot, as you can see me over here. I think I failed like 5 times on my gloves, just from 11 to 12. Yes, you will fail a lot. Be careful with that. This is to be expected. And those values are calculated into the Excel as well. Now finally, what are my plans to going from 14 to 15? Well, the final push is going to be 1370 and for the new content. And basically for 14 to 15, I will still do the same method. I'll use all the rate up materials that I can afford from 14 to 15. And just to show you guys over here, the rates are not great. Even if I use all the materials, my highest rate from 14 to 15 will be 20%, but that's okay. I will be doing this a few times, and this is when we look at the Artisan's energy. I'll show you guys that as well. Now once I get my weapon to plus 15, I will try to use all my untradeable destruction stones as much as I can between 14 and 15. And once I get that to 15, I will try to sell all the tradable ones onto the market, because my weapon no longer needs it until I get to the next tier, right? So similar method for armor. what I'll do is I will use the leftover rate up materials from the weapon to give the armor plus 15. So any of the currencies I have left over here, notice I have sold a lot of them. So any of the Solar Grace, Solar Blessing, and also Solar Protecting I have left over, I will use it on armor plus 15. Now there is a small min and max over here as to probabilities. You want to use the rate up materials earlier before you fail multiple times, because this will give you higher value. Once you fail multiple times, you actually get a bonus rate of plus 1% base rate or plus 1% rate each time you fail. And basically this kind of method is whatever you have left over from the weapons, you can use armor for that to plus 15. Now if we come over to the new tables over here, what you're going to see is this cell will be allowed for us to change. And by changing this cell, this will change all the other cells. And what I want to do is I want to give us a kind of understanding of how many times of failing can you expect to get a higher success rate. Basically, I'm saying that, we have the rates for the upgrades. We know that by the time we go for attempt for plus 12, the success rate, base rate will be plus basically 15%. We also know at the final level, it will be 10% success rate for upgrading. So if we come over to my plus 14 to plus 15, we know the base rate is 10%. And here with Excel, what we're doing is we're allowed to change the base rate, basically the current level. Or if you're changing this on this one, you can allow for 5 minutes for yourself, because this one's locked in and this allows us to not change random numbers, right? So if you change the rate over here, it will show you that once you fail once, the next base rate will be 11%. If you fail again, it will be 12%. And what we're focused on is how many number of attempts we need consecutively to have a greater success rate. To have a 55% success rate without using any rate up materials, it will be about 55% by the 6th attempt. So if we fail 5 times on the 6th attempt, the total combined rate will be 55% success rate. I'll change the UI a little bit. So this is for those that want to know, like, hey, my success rate is about 15% and I don't use any rate ups. So what can I expect? How many fails can I expect? Or how many attempts do I expect? Because if you come back to my videos over here, you can see that even attempting for plus 12 with my armor, I actually fail many times, because what we're looking at is we're looking at a 15% basically success rate base, and I don't use any rate ups. And by expectations, to even get a half chance of succeeding, I'm expecting my armor to fail at least 3 times. And over here, just some values that is additionally updated. So what that means is if you change the value of if you change the values of your cost on the market, it will show you that, hey, this is how many of the redstones you have to prepare for 5 attempts. And this is how much it will cost you at your market rate. And for 5 attempts, this is how many of the guardian stones you have to prepare. And this is the market cost. So this is a little additional table for those that want to check the rates and how many attempts you have without using any rate ups. And by the time you get to 10% for plus 15, so this is the final one I'm talking about. So by the time you get to there, you can see that by the calculation of the Excel, in order to get 80% success, you have to try this like 10 times, right? So just a little bonus I added to the Excel to help us to guide as we go and use those. I know it's a little confusing. I'll work on it, and maybe by the next video, I'll make a better interface and make it more clear for you guys. But I know, guys, there's so many things I want to share, but it's a little confusing. So I know I shared a lot of information, and just let me give you guys a recap. Basically, we have discovered the final rate and the final piece of the puzzle for getting the gears to plus 14 to plus 15, because I have been testing this with my own gears, right? So I have been testing this, and you can see after I get items to plus 14, I can see the rates. And by incorporating the rates into the Excel, we also have an updated interface over here. So the first thing is we have updated interface over here that you can use. And the second thing is in the updated interface Excel, I have also added a new table that is with Artisan's bonus failing rate. Each time you fail, you get a bonus rate. I have incorporated that. And finally, what I did was I gave you guys a step-by-step method of how I got items to plus 14 with tier 3. And basically from 1325 to 1340, you have 2 options. You can consider using the rate up materials because you open up more content. But anytime after that, I do believe it is more profitable and much greater in saving to use all the rate up for the weapons and to not use any rate up for the armor. Now, given that if you if you have a lot of rate ups, if you have a lot of gold, you can use it for the armors too. But this method is to be expected to save us a lot of gold, because as you can see over here, if you don't use rate ups for the armor, you just, buy your guardian stones and use your own lip stones, it is 3,520 gold. But if you use the rate ups, it is expected to cost over 5,000 gold. So this is basically saying that we don't need rate up for armors. And by the time you have spare rate ups for armors, you can use that for 14 to 15. Now, hopefully you guys find this method helpful. What I'll do on the next video is I will be trying my attempts to get my gears, all the gears to plus 14 and also get all my gears to plus 15. And I have been doing this without, spending any money into the game. Those are just with my untradeable materials and some of the materials I bought with my gold. So as you can see with our videos, I make gold with free to play, and also I do the calculations, I do the savings, and then I start to upgrade my gears. So I'm not slowing down with upgrading with the gears. And once I get most of my items to plus 14 and also 15, I'll give you guys more detailed videos of the replays of how to do those and how successful and how much saving I got from using this particular method. Now, if you guys haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you do so, because we'll be getting a lot of guides, a lot of tips as I discover them, and I love the game. So I want to share as much as I can with you guys, and let's have a great time in Lost Ark as we explore this game and get the most out of it.